Hello, everyone, and welcome in to another edition of To The Point Podcast. I'm your host, Noah Warren. I hope everybody's doing great today. Great to have you back for another show. It's been a great week so far. A lot of fun on the podcast. Enjoying the betting segments, enjoying the discussion with all of you. So keep that coming. It's always funner when you guys get involved. But weather's great. There's great sports. The games are starting to get more interesting. So great time of year and nothing to complain about on the home front. And it's also a great day because I like when I pitch a bet and it wins. And then last night I decided to go with that bet because I felt strong about it. I hope a few of you did as well with the Super Boost on FanDuel. Took all three home teams to win in the National Hockey League, the Stanley Cup playoffs, the Rangers, the Panthers, and the Flames to win, which they all did. $100, $400 win. Not bad. Good night for the Super Boost. Good win for all those three teams. Never a doubt, which is the title of today's episode because I never thought I'd lose the bet last night at any point watching those games, which is just a flat-out lie after some of the craziness we saw in the sports world last night with the hockey, the Milwaukee Bucks Boston Celtics game, which I had to keep tuned into because that was chaotic. That was crazy. I didn't know where that was going. So there was all kinds of pandemonium last night. Great content. It was a great night if you were a sports fan. You just had to be able to consume it all and be able to track it all. And it wasn't a great night if you thought, okay, I'm going to watch some games and I might be a little sleepy and I can get to bed. To me, that wasn't an option last night. I'm running off half hour of sleep last night because I couldn't get to bed after those games. And then the Flames have a great third period. They win. And it wasn't in the cards for me, but I'm okay. I'm good. I'm fired up today. Matt Wright is going to join me in about half hour's time. So he's going to join. We're going to talk about a bunch of different things. He's a Rangers fan. So we'll get his take on his team surviving, where that series is going. We're going to touch on some NFL topics as well. I get the NFL. It's May. We want to talk NFL, but there's a lot of stuff going on. I haven't talked about Tom Brady all week. I've been saving that. I got a take on it, and I got a few takes on it. Going to Fox Sports. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about Baker Mayfield still being on the Browns. Could he be a Cleveland Brown week 1? Is that a possibility? Maybe. We'll talk to Ryder about it in just a little bit. But the old cliche is, 2-0 is the worst lead in sports. Toronto came back from a 2-0 lead the other night. We saw the Boston Bruins come back from 2 down in Game 3 against the Carolina Hurricanes. And you look last night, there was a pair of games where teams had multiple goal leads. 2-0 for Pittsburgh in Madison Square Garden, and the Washington Capitals had a 3-0 lead in South Florida. And both of those games were dominated by, obviously, the team in front, Pittsburgh and Washington. The game didn't have a feel as if the opponent was going to wake up. The opponent was going to have life. Watching the game in New York last night, it was as if Madison Square Garden died. It was as if the New York Rangers bench died when Chris Letang scored on a beautiful feed from Evgeny Malkin. It was a shot. It was a tough shot, but it was a save that Igor Shesterkin should have made. But he didn't, and you take that on the chin, and you kind of have to walk it off. But in that, New York had played a good first 10 minutes of that period, but Pittsburgh had played a great defensive system where they were blocking shots. They were trying to do their version of the Carolina Hurricanes prevent defense with an e-bug or a less than adequate goaltender in net with Louis Domingue in for the Penguins. And I'm still trying to figure out when the turning point of the game was in New York in particular. I felt it for Florida. But in New York, there wasn't a moment where I said, well, New York started to play better, or they seemed to have belief. Now, the Adam Fox goal gave them life, but it wasn't as if it was a spectacular play. It wasn't like Pittsburgh was broken down. They weren't hemmed in their zone for a minute and a half. With, a little over left in the period, from the point, there's a limited screen, there's a feeding Louis Domingue. And it's as if the dam had to break for the Pittsburgh. As if it's if you're okay, you're just playing you're doing something where you want to make no mistakes. You're playing cornhole, for instance, and you just want to hit threes, and you put one on the board. You're just like, oh, what's the point? Like, you lose interest. It was as if Pittsburgh was playing a prevent defense. It was as if they were doing everything right to hold a lead, to get out of that series alive. But the second that one goal went behind them, all hell broke loose. But they forgot about the system that they were playing, what had gone, and it was all hell from there. Because in 56 seconds, Rangers had scored 3 goals, and Gensel scored at in 50. Then Kako makes a beautiful pass out in 4 seconds later. Then Trouba scores a backhander along the ice. And before you know it, the Rangers are up 3-2. Gensel does tie the game. That gives you a feel. But New York had the momentum. They found it in the third period. The series is now 3-2. It has a different feel to it. But a couple things. I credit Adam Fox. He had that goal. I don't think he played well at all last night, because I'm like, okay, they're going to lose the series tonight, the Rangers, and Adam Fox chose of all the games, he made decisions. He defensible plays. Your skill, you look great NHLers. First Sorry, buddy, got kicked out of my internet here. As I was talking about Philip Hedl. I thought he was the player of the game last night for the Rangers as we reset here, because not just because he got the game-winning goal. That's easy. That's a easy answer. The reason I think he was player of the game is I just felt he was all over the puck. He made really smart defensive plays. Available. He was there. And then a big moment, he scores a goal. His first career playoff goal. It's a game winner. They don't win last night unless he scores that goal, and they cap it off with an empty netter. But I thought he played really big last night. He's a high draft pick, and he's known for his skill. He's known for his goal scoring, things of that nature. But I thought last night he showed something different. He brought something new to the table. It wasn't just that skill. It wasn't just the speed game for him. He played defensive hockey. He played the game with awareness of what had to happen. He knew last night they had to win. It was a situation where, okay, I could play my skill game. I might be Philip Hedl, the first round draft pick. Yes, he has more skill than Lafreniere and Kakko. At this stage of their career, Lafreniere is a big physical guy, but Hedl is more skilled than him at this point. But he realized this situation. Situational awareness is key in life and in hockey. He knew, okay, I might put in a goal later, but I need to keep the game tied right now, and that's just as important. But good for New York for battling. They finally got to the middle of the ice as well. That's something you finally noticed. You look where all the goals are scored. Where did Lafreniere score? Right in front. Trouba, right in front of the net. Hedl, not too far away. Before the last two games, every chance they were getting was from the perimeter. It was all perimeter chance. Yes, they controlled the puck for 30, 40 seconds, but it's to the outside. You're not scoring a goal from there. It's not a high danger scoring chance. The opposition will give you that all day, all night. They crave that you want to stay out there because it's way easier to defend, and they don't have to worry that much about what you're going to do offensively. It's a waste of a shift. You're killing time. You're killing their time. That's the only thing you could say. But at the same time, defensively, you're not that tired, and you can get out quicker for your next shift and hope for better. And a big part of this, and something I find fascinating, is New York wins last night, and it had absolutely nothing to do with one of their star players. I have a new nickname for a player on the New York Rangers. This isn't a good nickname when it comes to how I'm going to phrase it, but I think it's fair. Artemi Panarin will now be known on this show as Shower. And the reason his new nickname is no longer the Bread Man, it's Shower, is because he doesn't need one after a game. Artemi Panarin, I guarantee you he doesn't need to take a shower after the game because he's not sweating. His hair is probably perfectly combed. He doesn't need to do anything. He could go to a New York bar straight from the rink because his effort is jack shit. He's so comfortable just playing to the outside. He won't work to get to the middle of the ice. He doesn't back check. He shower. To just leave the rink when the game's over than actually do something of consequence. You can have a great regular season. All that is great. Win your individual awards. But that doesn't mean if you don't win in the playoffs, then what's it all for? Then you're just a good Russian player that had a good career. That's it. You won't be the best. Fedorov, Ovechkin, all these other guys will be better than you. You want to join the likes of the Malkins, the Ovechkins, the Fedorovs, the great Russian players that have won a Stanley Cup, that have been there in the big moments, because they sacrifice to do it. I just see that he's a lazy player. It's lazy offensively when you're unwilling to go to the middle of the ice, when you're unwilling to take a check to make a play. It's simple. Yes, it's difficult. I'm not disagreeing to that, but he doesn't. He accepts the position that he's in, where he's got the puck on the outside, and he won't work to get in the middle. So I would be so frustrated if I'm Gerard Gallant. That can work in the regular season because you get nothing. There's no pushback. The defense plays so lax, and in the Leafs series, you might get away with it because they're calling everything. But last night in the Rangers game, Wes McCauley was the ref and Eric Furlat. They're the best crew in the National Hockey League. Last night's game had flow. It wasn't about power plays. It wasn't about penalties. It was another really entertaining game. But does Malkin make plays that make you want to throw your remote if you're a Penguins fan? Yeah. But at the same time, you know he'll go in the middle of the ice. You know he'll take a cross check. You know all these things are true. I've never seen that with Panarin. I've never seen him just say, you know what? I'm out here. So this is our goalie. The goalie's right here. I'm all the way over here. I'm unwilling to go in the middle. I'm hoping somebody else will, and I'll feed them the puck. But with their playing their defense, I got to make the defense work. When a team is playing prevent defense, when a team is saying, okay, you can have all of this. It's like the NFL when they play prevent. Okay, you can throw it underneath, you can do all of this, but you're not going to blow the top off our corners. So basically, what Pittsburgh was doing last night was saying, especially in the first period and a half until they broke through, we'll give you all of this. Take the perimeter, take the top of the circles. We'll happily give you that, Panarin. Do your C cuts, do your circles, have fun right there. All you want, have it. But in front of the net, you're going to have to pay a price. And Panarin did he have an effect on Lafreniere goal? No. Did he have an effect on the Fox goal? Not really. Did he have an effect on the Trouba goal? Not really. Stats don't tell the whole story. That's something, like, occasionally it does. Jay Gensel's had a great series, and he's got 7 goals. That's true. If you're watching the game, you see he's having a great impact. I think Letang's had a really good series for Pittsburgh. I don't think Fox played that well. If he's got tons of points, then Adam Fox having a hell. Well, is he? Not really. The best defenseman on New York last night was Ryan Lindgren. He played hurt. Thank God they had Ryan Lindgren last night, because I don't think they win the game without him. He's so important to that team. I love the way he plays, and he brings such a – I think he's a big leader of that team, even quietly, because that defense is better when he's in the lineup. But, yeah, Panarin is shower until proven otherwise. Until I see a game where he gives a shit, where he wants to get to the middle of the ice, where he actually makes an effort to get into a high-quality scoring chance, he will be known as shower. Because when he leaves a game, he doesn't need one. Controversy in the game on a couple fronts. Number one, Sidney Crosby leaves the game with an injury. This is big news for the series, potentially longer term. Number one, there's a couple different plays I think Crosby could have got hurt. In the first period, it was when they're on their 5-on-3, he got a high stick or an elbow to the head, and he dropped right from the faceoff. And he didn't look great coming up the ice. I don't think he had his worst game of the series last night. So he didn't look great after that. And then in the middle of the second period, he doesn't have the puck, Trouba doesn't have the puck, and they kind of collide. And I seen after the game that Twitter, Mike Sullivan was clamoring for a suspension, clamoring for retribution on Jacob Trouba. And this has nothing to do with the fact that I'm not the biggest Sidney Crosby fan. If you listen to this podcast, I think I'm pretty fair. He's one of the best players ever. If it is a head injury, I hate to see that, because what he's dealt with in the past. I really hope it isn't. I hope it's something, shoulder or upper body wise, because I don't want to see him go through that again. Anybody for that matter. But he's one of the best players in the history of the game. You never want to see somebody miss time. But that wasn't a suspension. That wasn't a penalty. And quite frankly, if I was Jacob Trouba, I'd be offended that Mike Sullivan said it made him out to look like he's a dirty player. It was a play that they both ran into each other. Crosby was just as there was no fault, really. I'm trying to say they were both at fault. They were both skating into, Crosby skating towards the net, going to the area where Panarin refuses to live, and Trouba defended the house. And he didn't cross-check him in the head. His hands were up, but it was just a flyby. It wasn't something he meant to do. And this is where the game's changed, where, yes, it's result-oriented thinking. Because would Mike Sullivan have said anything if Crosby was fine? No. It was a bang-bang play. It was nothing. It had no impact, on the game as a whole. Yes, Crosby got hurt, of course, but it was not a dirty play. If he gets up, there's no talk about it. But now that his captain, his best player, is out, he's got to bitch about it. I'm okay if he said after the game, okay, I would have liked a 2-minute minor there. I'm okay with clamoring for that, but I don't agree with trying to make a player a villain in the process, because that's not fair to Jacob Trouba. He did nothing to earn that. He's not Brad Marchand. He's not Matt Cook back in the day, Mike Ribeiro. Like, he isn't some of these players that are rats, that are just a pain in the ass. Jacob Trouba is a big physical defenseman, and quite frankly, that's the way he plays the game. He's physical. He'll use his stick. He's a little bit of a throwback, and if you can't take that, which Crosby can, it was just a play, then don't go in that area, quite frankly. And this was just barking up the wrong tree. This was the wrong way of going about it, because I don't like vilifying somebody for doing nothing wrong. Trying to put somebody in a box, trying to label somebody for making one mistake in their life is a huge mistake. And this links into cancel culture in the world we live in now, where somebody does something 10 years ago and that defines their life. Somebody gets accused of something. Johnny Depp gets accused of something with Amber Heard, and now he's a woman beater. I don't think Jacob Trouba did anything malicious last night. I don't think it was a dirty play. I just think it was bad luck. And of course, you want to see Sidney Crosby play, but I don't agree with Mike Sullivan's stance that, it was a dirty play. It should have got a hearing. But we got a Rangers fan on the line, and I'm curious to hear what he thought of the play and the Rangers win last night. So we're going to bring him in here. It's been a minute since we've chatted on the podcast, but Ryder, good to see you. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me on, Jug. I know we've been kind of going back and forth here the last few weeks with COVID and work and everything, and I'm glad I'm able to jump on tonight.
I like the new do.
Honestly, bud, just gave the hair a comb. That's it. I'm not going to go too crazy. It's actually I got to get to get my hair cut here soon, but just trying to clean up for your podcast, buddy.
Oh, I appreciate that. What'd you make of the play? We'll get to the Rangers game as a whole last night, but what'd you make of the Trouba Crosby play that was kind of called into question after the game by Mike?
Well, I kind of heard your points on it there before I hopped on, and I completely agree. I think it's a non-issue. I just don't, maybe a fine at most, definitely not a suspension. I thought it was a good play. If you watch before the play, he's going stick on puck first. He doesn't look to target the head, and it sucks because I love Crosby, and he's still one of the best players in the league. He's one of the best two-way forwards in the league. You see what he's done to the Rangers. I honestly think Crosby has been the difference maker in this series. From a Ranger standpoint, it sucks to say this, but it's actually awesome he's not playing. He didn't finish the game. That was the turning point of the game there on last night. And looking at it from now, I don't know do you know if Crosby's back in tomorrow or not?
They said so far he's being evaluated today, so nothing definitive yet.
Right. Honestly, if he's not in, it really does, I think, turn even more to the Rangers' favor, even though they're down 3-2 in the series. Crosby's he's Crosby, man. It's like There's no other way to say it. He's still one of the most elite players in the league, and you see what he can do on the defensive side of the puck too. He just shuts players down, and he still creates offense. I mean, Jake Gensel has been amazing, but Jake Gensel wasn't Jake Gensel without Sidney Crosby. So them losing Sidney Crosby is definitely, helps the Rangers. I don't know. Like I said, we don't know whether he's out for Game 6, potentially Game 7, whether he's going to be back. But that definitely was the turning point. Should Trouba get suspended? No, it wasn't. There was nothing malicious in that hit. Like I think I heard at the end there, you said kind of just bad luck, bad timing. I think that's what it was too. That's coming from a hockey fan, not just a Rangers fan. If it was vice versa, I'd say the same thing.
Right. And what would concern me about Crosby is that I think if it's like a shoulder injury, and I talked to a few people today, he would have probably played the third because you played sports, you've been banged up. In the moment, where after the game you could have a serious injury and then you're like, oh crap, I'm hurt, like I'm not feeling good here. But he left, didn't play the whole third period. Like that makes me think it's a head injury, and obviously I feel terrible for him.
Yeah, I do too. He was playing how people view Sidney Crosby, and I feel like Sidney Crosby really got kind of shafted this year, and no one really talked about him, and he was dominant for Pittsburgh. And if they do lose him, I feel pretty confident. This is crazy to say. Feel pretty confident saying Rangers in 7 if Sydney's not in the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that'd be a big swing because they look dead to rights. I thought after that Letang goal last night, they were done because they didn't have a whole lot of life, but they found a way back. Who's impressed you from the Rangers standpoint so far this series?
You know what? Not a lot.
Yeah.
No, but who has been very, impressive in the sense I think he has taken a step forward is Alexis Lafreniere. I think he's played fairly well. He scored a couple big goals. He's throwing his body. I've liked his game in the playoffs. I feel like Fox hasn't brought as much as I'd hoped so far, looking at what kind of Cale Makar's done in Colorado. Mika Zibanejad has kind of been a ghost this playoffs.
Yeah.
I really haven't seen much. Panarin's still making plays. Obviously, I'd like to see a little bit more out of Artemi, but he's still been a good player. I think Kreider's obviously not going to score as much in the playoffs as he did in the regular season, but I'm okay with where he's at. Honestly, I think just as a team in whole, they just need to play a little bit better as a team. I think you really need to see Mika Zibanejad step up here in the last 2 games. I think if there's one player I've been kind of disappointed in, it'd be Zibanejad. And I think need a little bit more to Fox as well. But you're looking at this series with who Pittsburgh has lost and who the Rangers have been going up against in nets. Like the fact that it's 3-2 now is even surprising. Like this should have been Rangers in 6, in my opinion, especially after the goaltending situations that happened early in the series. Now that being said, before the season started, the Rangers' expectation wasn't to be as strong as they are now. Like they really did have a better season than what they were expecting going into the year. So
Agreed.
for them, if they lose in 7, they should win this series. And that's the tough thing. If they lose this series, it definitely is a disappointment. Now, at the start of the year, if you were to say you're going to lose to Pittsburgh in 6 or 7 games, you'd probably be like, all right, no, not a bad year. But I think it'd be definitely a disappointment if they can't find a way to get through these next 2 games.
Yeah, because I agree. Because I think if they say they lose to the Canes, I don't think that's a disappointment. Like the Canes are a good team, and that's a tough matchup for them. I think defensively and the whole way around. I noticed last night just how important Ryan Lindgren is to New York. I think it completely changes their defense, and he is a quiet good game last night. Defensively, I thought he made some poor decisions, but I love their team so much more with Lindgren in the lineup because I think they look a lot more confident.
Lindgren is one of those players that you don't talk about until you watch a team enough. Like Lindgren, I love Lindgren. I've been watching him for 2 years now. He's been very solid. But he is one of those players that he doesn't get enough respect until you watch game in and game out. And he really
Mhm.
is a great top four defenseman. He's gonna. I really hope the Rangers keep him around for a long time. I like the way he plays. He plays with a little snarl in his game, plays with a little bite, but he still makes a good first pass. He doesn't take too many chances. He'll drop the gloves once in a while if need be. I Lindgren's been definitely a benefit to the Rangers, and hopefully they can keep him around for years to come because I like his game. And when he was out of the lineup, man, it definitely showed when he was missing.
Yeah, just not having Nemeth in the lineup helps New York because he was really struggling to say the least.
He
Um,
struggled for
yeah,
sure.
I have a nickname for Artemi Panarin, and I know he's usually called the Bread Man, but I've never been a huge fan of that nickname. And I want to run it by you and see what you think.
All right, let's hear it.
His nickname is called Shower because he doesn't need one after the games.
You know what? There are, yeah, he could probably work a little harder, but you know what? That being said, there are players. You take Scott Niedermayer. Scott Niedermayer would finish a game, and you look at him and go, "My God, that guy doesn't look like he had one. He worked hard at all." But I know where you're getting at. You need a little bit
Yeah.
more from Panarin, and I agree. If he's going to be considered as one of the top players in the league, he's got to be one of the top players in this series. He hasn't brought as much as you'd hoped. I thought he had some spurts there last night where he made some real good plays. He was a little bit more engaged in the offense, but no, I agree. If they're going to win the next two games, he's got to be a difference maker for sure.
I just see him. He lives on the perimeter. I'd like to see him at least, present that you're going to go in the middle of the ice, and that might open up passing lanes for Zibanejad, for Strome, and create, make the line a little more creative, a little more offensively dynamic.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. I think that's something. Hopefully, the Rangers' top line is the best line the next two games. I mean, they're going to have to be. The Rangers' top line is going to have to
Mhm.
be the best line, especially if whether or not Crosby's in or not. The Rangers' top line has to be the top line in the series for both teams for the Rangers to win the next two games.
Other than Rangers Pens, what's been your favorite series to watch?
Oh, that's a great question. I think I'm gonna have to go with just Tampa, Toronto, just because I've been watching every game, their earlier games. I've really liked honestly the Florida Washington series has been pretty good. I actually feel like I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna say Florida Washington has been enjoyable just because I didn't think Washington would give them as much challenge as they are, and Washington plays a hard nosed game, and that's definitely pushed Florida to the brink. Crazy Florida came back last night 3-0. That to me now that series is done in six after that one. That's just sucks for Washington. There's no other way to say it. Like it's demoralizing for sure. That's been a great series. I mean, Colorado, what they did against Nashville, was enjoying to watch too. But obviously that only lasted four. I mean, tonight you got to be looking at. There's two massive games tonight. I mean, you look at Toronto game, and then you look at Edmonton, and wow, this could be interesting. I'm just especially if Edmonton loses, man. Oh wow.
Yeah, I talked about this yesterday. If Edmonton loses tonight, is Ken Holland fired?
Oh man, I think someone's got to get fired, right? You can't fire the
Yeah.
players, you can trade them, but I think Ken Holland gets fired. I think you know what this series has shown me though. It's shown me how good Sidney Crosby is
Right.
because we look back to the comments that, and I'm not taking anything away from Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl. I think they're two of the top players in the league, and I think Connor McDavid's by far the best player in the league. But that being said, the comments that Torts made earlier in the year, they have
Mhm.
to learn how to play a little bit better in their own end. And if you look at the games, Edmonton's given up 4 or 5 goals a game. And not saying that's all on the top players, not saying that's all on the goaltender. It's a team wide thing, but you can't give up 4 or 5 goals and expect to win hockey games in the playoffs. And even if you look at that overtime goal, I mean, McDavid's on the ice, he gets beat on a battle on the wall, and then Keith gets beat to the net, and it's a goal, right? So do I think Ken Holland gets fired? Yeah, I think he does. Do I think you? It's tough because it's like you can't trade Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl, can you? Like,
No.
I know Gretzky got traded, right? Everyone can get traded, but like, you have two of the top three players in the league, I'd say. Like, you can't trade them, right, man? Well, I guess we'll find out if they lose tonight.
Unless McDavid says, I want out.
I mean, that could happen
I
too,
always
right?
thought that'd be a zero chance, but I don't think it's zero anymore. This year, he was pretty miserable at points this season.
Yeah.
Like, he looked really not that happy to be in Edmonton, and another early exit, and say you have like a Leafs team who've kind of been linked with Edmonton forever. If they win a series, if they have success, I think that will only piss off McDavid even more, that they're going to be like front and center in the limelight for a team that has a great player himself and Draisaitl that just can't win.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I really hope that they can find a way to win this series. Nothing against LA. I think LA is a good up and young coming team. I think they're gonna be. The other thing, LA's missing Doughty too. Like Edmonton's doing this. Like, what's worse? Do you think Edmonton or the Rangers? To me, I think it's Edmonton.
Edmonton.
It's got to be Edmonton because
Yeah.
Edmonton, you've expected them to go. Like the fact they're losing to LA without Doughty, and it's just you have two of the best players in the league. You have to find a way to win series.
Yeah, who's LA's best player? Like, it's honestly a debate because it's not like, people would say it's Kopitar.
Oh,
well,
man,
is it?
Kopitar.
It's not anymore.
No, you know what? It is still Kopitar because what he does on the defensive end, between him and Danault, Kopitar still, he's not an elite player, but he just knows how to play the game. Kopitar is such a good hockey player that he can shut down guys, and that's what LA's doing. They're shutting down. Edmonton is still scoring some goals, but they're finding a way to shut down Edmonton and those key opportunities and key situations in the game where Edmonton's scoring, but they're scoring some goals in garbage time, right? They're scoring when they're already up by a couple, but when it comes down to meaningful games, and they're giving up chances. Like, it seems like every odd man rush is in the back of their net. Like LA is doing a great job of capitalizing on opportunities. Like, if you look, to me, like when you look at the numbers, Edmonton's been a much better team in this series. Like, Mike Smith's goals against is way better than Jonathan Quick. Edmonton's power play is 13 for 17. Like, it's just nuts. Like, it's crazy. But when it comes to the key moments of the game, that's where LA seems to be taking it to them.
Yeah, and I think what's so important is that they come out ready to play tonight, because in Game 5, the shots were 18-4 after the first period. Like, they were completely flat. Like, that's something that Draisaitl and McDavid can have an effect on, is just come out ready to play. But, you've been involved in games. You've seen lots. That Darnell Nurse play writer was one of the dumbest things I've seen in a long time. I don't know. I get heat of the battle, but you also got to be aware of the situation. You got to be aware that that's a suspendable play. And he's out tonight in their biggest game of the season, elimination game, and he's their top defenseman. He played almost 30 minutes in Game 5. He's not available tonight.
Oh, it's just a boneheaded play. There's no way to beat around the bush here. It's like, you got to understand what your role on the team is. Like, you are the number one defenseman on this team. They're expecting you to play the most minutes. You cannot get suspended. Like, why do even something that's borderline suspension? Like, it's just a stupid knucklehead play. And I have no sympathy for him. He should get suspended. It was a suspendable play. It's a dirty play. If someone did that, you can lose teeth. It's just dirty play. He's lucky he's only getting one. He probably could get two. And he's really letting his team down. Like, it's not, you can't, there's no way on that play to look at that and be like, yeah, no, I understand why he did that. No, there's no reason.
No.
There was no need to go in and do that. So, you know what? If they lose, it's partly on him for not being in the lineup.
Yeah, I imagine he'd feel terrible, like even worse, like a stupid play, and then you get eliminated. Because I got their defense pairings right here. I wrote them down because it's scary tonight. Top D pair, they got Brett Kulak, my lord, and Cody Ceci playing together. Then they have Duncan Keith and Evan Bouchard, and Chris Russell and Tyson Barrie. Like, that's not that Barry's gonna have to play half the game tonight, because otherwise that defense is just a nightmare.
And as much as I respect Duncan Keith, he's been an awesome player in the league for many years. He just doesn't have it like he used to. Like you see, he's getting
No.
guys are walking around him. He's just not there anymore in the sense of the role he can play. I think Edmonton was hoping for just a little bit more, but in fairness, he's been through Duncan Keith has done a lot for this league and has played a lot of minutes, a lot of hard minutes. So I don't fault Duncan Keith, but I think they're gonna have to ask for Duncan Keith to play way more than they can. Cody Cece's gonna have a game of his life tonight. Tyson Barrie will have, like you said, 25 minutes. It's you better, if you're the Oilers, you better find a way to play down low and cycle the puck and keep it in the other team's end, because you can't be giving up odd man rushes against these D. You've seen what happened in the odd man rushes. LA is cleaning up on the odd man rushes. So like maybe it might be something where you tell your D, listen, no one pinches ever.
Right.
Not even if
Right.
you're up by one. Like, I'll go down and I coach a 2011 spring team. Hey guys, like no one pinch. Like end of the game. Like I feel like you might have to say to all D, listen, no one pinch the whole game. We need as many soldiers back there as possible.
When you give out that order, do they listen?
Not at 2011. You'd hope they do, but I told my team that I swear the next shift one of them was leading the rush. But hey, it is what it is. But
Right.
I mean that Edmonton game's gonna be a great game tonight, and I really do hope that Edmonton finds a way to win this series. I really do.
You mentioned the Leaf Tampa series. The Leafs big win on Tuesday, and they're now a game away from finally breaking the 18-year curse of winning a first round series. They are 4-11 in their last 14 when they leading in a series, they lose the next game. They are 1-7 in I think close or 0-7 in closeout games in their last number of years. How confident do you feel that the Leafs are going to win this series this year?
50-50. And I'm 50-50 on it. I don't think Tampa's played as well as they can. I think the Leafs have, the Leafs are, they're hot and cold, man. This is the way the Leafs are, right? But the Leafs do have a way to score goals. They can score goals. Austin Matthews is, a big goal there at the end. I think Mitch Marner's elevated his game. John Tavares finally woke up. He had a good last game. I mean, the last 17 games after a loss in the playoffs for Tampa, they're 17-0. So, I mean, you look at that stat. You got to think Tampa's winning this game at home. They're going to throw everything they can. Tampa is going for what they call a dynasty, right? It doesn't happen that often. You win 2 in a row. Don't get me wrong, 2 in a row Stanley Cups, that's amazing. It's, not many teams have ever done it in the history of the league. But if you can win 3 in a row, you're a dynasty. If you can win 3 in 5 years, you're a dynasty. Mm-hmm. They do not want this run to end. People say, yeah, no, they're tired of, a lot of hockey over the last 2 years. No, they are going to show everything they can tonight. Toronto's going to have to play the best game of their season to win tonight, in my opinion. I think, do they win tonight? I think they need to keep it close. You can't get down 2-3-0 early again and think you're going to come back. It's not happening tonight. No, you can't get down 2-0 on the road. Especially on the road. You're not getting down 2-0 and expecting you're coming back and scoring, 4 of the next 5 goals. It's not happening. It has to be a close game. Try and keep it tied going into the third. And you never know what can happen. Toronto does have, their offense. I think Toronto's D is playing a little bit better. Mm-hmm. Campbell's hot and cold. He's going to have a really strong game tonight. And do I think they can win? Yes. Tonight, man, 17-0, Tampa Bay, 2-time Stanley Cup champions. I think Tampa wins tonight, but if you're Toronto, I think you got to try and treat this like Game 7 tonight too.
100%. I think Toronto's going to win tonight. I had them in 6 at the start, so I'm going to ride with that. Okay. But I agree with you. Even though Game 7's at home, I wouldn't feel that great about it because it's Toronto. It's Game 7s. It's a lot to ask to say, okay, you're the team that has had no success, that gags all over themselves constantly, is going to go win a Game 7 against a team that wins every big game they're in and have won back-to-back Stanley Cups. That's so. I mean, if you were betting in Vegas, and somebody was telling you all this, it would be hard to throw your cash on the Leafs. but I almost feel like tonight is their night. It's a road game. There's less pressure on paper, but for some reason, I just feel like Tampa, they don't look like Tampa the past 2 years. They don't have that same like Point. I don't think's played that well in this series. I'm a huge Braden Point guy. Kucherov's been really underwhelming for me. He's kind of just had stupid penalties and looked frustrated on the ice. And, Vasilevsky has been kind of even par, I'd say, with Jack Campbell. And that's not something you're used to saying, is Vasilevsky's the best goalie in the world.
Yeah, it's definitely, kind of surprising that Tampa hasn't played better, I guess. But there's been times where Tampa's looked dominant. There's been times where Toronto's looked dominant. I think game 1, Toronto looked pretty dominant most of the game, other than maybe the first 10 minutes. But, you look at game 4, Tampa dominated the whole game. So, either team has the ability to really, when they put their foot on the gas, to really look like one of the best, if not the best team in the league. Honestly, both of them have the chance. I think either one of them, whoever gets through this series, has a fairly good chance of, winning the Eastern Conference. I believe that. I just looking at the way Florida hasn't played as well as, you'd think they'd play. The Rangers-Penguins series, whoever gets through that, if the Rangers make it through, they haven't played their best hockey. If Pittsburgh gets it through there, you don't know their goaltending situation. Boston, Carolina, I just think Carolina plays some really good hockey, but they just don't have that one or two guys that can, in my opinion, like Sebastian Aho's a great player, but they don't have a superstar who can go out and win a game, even though they play a hard-nosed hockey, especially at home. But I think the winner of Tampa-Toronto has a really good shot of winning the East. So, for Toronto fans, I know it's going to be a stressful night for Leafs fans. I think Leafs fans are a little more stressed than I am as a Rangers fan. I think I'm happy that the Rangers are in the playoffs. I'd love to see them beat Pittsburgh, obviously. At the end of the day, if Rangers lose to Pittsburgh, I truly believe that the Rangers are going to be back next year. If the Leafs lose, it's just another tough summer for Leafs fans, especially if they lose in round 1. Tonight, man, it's going to be a great hockey game. I think it's going to be a 1-goal game. I hope you see some overtime tonight, just because we haven't seen any overtime in this series.
I think we're due for one, because like you said, the last game was the first game with a lead change, for Christ's sake. Game 5, and it finally happened in the third period, where Tampa gave up a lead to the Leafs. Let's do this. We got 4 games tonight. I'm going to ask you each one if it's going 7 or if it ends tonight.
Okay.
Carolina in Boston tonight at the TD Garden. Is it over? Is it over? Is it done tonight, or does it go 7?
Both teams are just so good at home, but I think Carolina finds a way to win tonight. I think they do, and if not, I think Carolina definitely wins in Game 7, because I think Carolina's just too good at home, and Boston just really struggled in Carolina. So I'm gonna say it ends tonight, though. But if it does go 7, I'm taking Carolina in Game 7.
Okay, but you're taking the Canes tonight. It's a FanDuel, Canes plus money, right?
I'm taking the Canes tonight. I think the Canes win tonight.
Okay. You said you got the Lightning winning tonight, forcing Game 7.
I have the Lightning in overtime tonight. It's just going to be crushing for the Leafs.
Oh, God. Yeah, I can't even envision my parents. That's going to be a tough one if that comes true.
I got the Lightning tonight, Game 7, man. It's going to be a wild one.
Okay. Minnesota in St. Louis. St. Louis up 3-2. Does Minnesota force Game 7, or does St. Louis end it tonight?
And Jordan Binnington's found, playoff Jordan Binnington from 3 years ago. But to me, this series has screamed 7 games from the start. I'm gonna go Minnesota's gonna find a way to win on the road tonight. We're gonna see Game 7 back in Minnesota.
Okay. And Oilers at Kings tonight, minus Darnell Nurse.
Oh man. Jeez, I just don't even know. Please, just for the sake of Connor McDavid, just for the sake of Connor McDavid, I just really want to see this. I want to see the Oilers win. I have no skin in the game. I'm not an Oilers fan, you know that, but I am a fan of.
Yeah.
Connor McDavid is the best player in the league. He deserves to keep playing. and I just don't want to. I don't want to hear about how much the struggles in Edmonton in the media for the next week. So can we let's get Edmonton to win. They're the better team, even though their defense looks like a midget AAA defense right now. Let's go with the Edmonton Oilers to force Game 7.
Do you think Gary Bettman would? Do you think he'd welcome McDavid playing for an American team? Like, say he asked out.
Oh, 100%.
Up in the States. I think he'd love that for the league.
100%. Easy answer. 1,000%. You know where he'd love him to be? Arizona.
Yeah.
Florida.
Yeah.
Honestly, a smaller market in the States, that because Edmonton the fan base they're always going to draw fans. They're always going to, I know Ottawa's been a little questionable some years, but TV ratings, people in Canada are still going to watch their teams, regardless of how bad they are, regardless of who's playing. Gary Bettman wants the best stars in the league to be in the United States of America. 1,000%. Because it's better for the game to grow the game having your stars in America. You want a few stars in Canada, obviously. But if you look at it, most of the main stars this year have been on the Canadian teams. You look at what Johnny Gaudreau's done. You look at, McDavid, Draisaitl, Matthews, Marner. A lot of the, there's only, 7 teams in Canada. And
they had 8 of the top 15 scores in the league.
Exactly. So that's something the league would not want. That's my opinion, but
I agree for sure. And Arizona, I think he'd love it because that's his baby down there. Even like a Carolina, I think for some reason he'd welcome that. Like in a small, you mentioned small market. New Jersey kind of has Hughes. They came to mind, but I think Jack is kind of lighting it up there. I think LA, quite frankly. I mean, LA is a big market when they're good. When they're a good team, people go like Staples Center tonight will be bumping in LA. They love their hockey when they're good, and they don't really have a star right now. He'd be a great fit there too.
Bettman would have been really pissed off with how the draft lottery went the other night.
Agreed.
Where Montreal got the first pick. He would have been really upset that Arizona didn't get the first pick, and the fact that Seattle bumped all the way down to 4th or 3rd.
Yeah, 4th.
Yeah, 4th. He wouldn't have liked that. He would have wanted to see Seattle or Arizona win that draft lottery.
Yeah. New Jersey got 2nd. So they've got 2 number 1s in the last 4 years, and they get a 2nd this year. Is the lottery working, Ryder? Because it just seems to be benefiting these certain teams. Like we just see New Jersey, your Rangers have really benefited from it.
Absolutely.
And I just think there should be a system where if you pick 1st or 2nd, you can't pick 1st or 2nd again for a couple. Maybe it's just New Jersey fatigue with me where they haven't done anything with any of the picks they've made, but I just have a hard time seeing them pick 2nd again.
Well, New Jersey's turning into your Edmonton Oilers.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Same idea.
Yeah.
I don't know, Brian Burke has always mentioned that point of, once you go to the trough once, you shouldn't be able to go back for a few years. I completely agree. There's no reason the Rangers should have been able to draft, Lafreniere, the year after they got Kakko 2nd. That shouldn't have happened. I'll be the first to admit that. But I think if you pick in the top 3, I think if you pick top 3, maybe even top 2, if you pick top 2, you shouldn't be able to pick top 2 for the next 2 years at least, maybe 3 years.
I
think that's a good way, no matter where you finish the next couple of years. I think if you pick top 2, not 3, because normally on some years, give or take, there's 2 guys, normally. But you never really hear a 3. You never really hear of a 3-way race for a first pick. Where next year it's going to be Bedard and Mishoff, right? So there's 2 guys right there. I think if you go top 2 in the draft, you shouldn't be able to pick in the top 3 for the next couple of years. I think that's a good way to solve it because, you look at what New Jersey's doing, man. It's almost as bad as Edmonton. They're not even close.
Not even close. And they have Hughes looks better, fun, but he sure is a first overall pick. He's going to be 2nd line center his whole career. That's just what he is at this point. And Hughes, you're going to get another top pick. I don't know. it just doesn't sit well. Like Seattle, I even think, right. I have a soft spot for Detroit when I see these draft lotteries because they made the playoffs for 20 straight years and they've gotten no luck. I mean, they're drafting incredibly with Sider and Raymond and some of the players they've gotten lower, but like they should be a team that benefits when they hit the draft lottery after all the success they've had organically.
Yeah, and I think they definitely need to look at it because at one point the draft lottery was very exciting, and now no one really cares at all about the draft lottery.
Did you know it was the other night? Did you know it was Tuesday?
You know what? I knew it was Tuesday, and the only reason it was Tuesday is because I was watching Sportsnet on Tuesday morning, and they said the draft lottery is tonight. Like, I didn't even know that, and I follow the league, probably closer to 90, 95, 99% of people in the world, right? So, Same, like, I didn't even know, and I didn't care about it. And honestly, the year the Rangers got Lafreniere, like, they had no business getting them. No one really cares about the draft lottery. Maybe not nobody. Obviously, you care about it if your team's towards the bottom, but it just seems like it used to be. I think it was a reason to draw more people into, where your team's picking. But now they had the draft lottery on a night where there's 4 NHL playoff games going on.
Yeah.
No one cares.
Yeah, it's half hour before the games. Like, okay, like who cares? Like, yeah, it's just, yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. They need to figure out a new system or just do the NFL way because yes, Jacksonville and Detroit were at the top again, but at least they have a system. I don't think they're changing because people love the draft in the NFL. I know we do. Because a few weeks back, we had a few calls during the draft and we were going to talk about this back then, but I still find it so compelling that I wanted to bring it back today before we talk about your boy, TV Fox Sports. The Green Bay Packers had 2 picks in the first round, and they took 2 defensive players from Georgia and did not select a receiver after Detroit traded up, and you saw Philly get A.J. Brown and all these other teams make moves. What's Green Bay's thought process at receiver going into next season?
Well, they don't have any.
Yeah.
Lazard better be the MVP of the league this year. I think that there must have been a conversation with Aaron Rodgers. You'd think after all the wide receivers got drafted early and they didn't trade up, I think they would have had to have called them and said, listen, this is what we're going to do, just so you know. Now, if that conversation happened, I don't know if it did, but man, I just cannot believe. In fairness, a lot of the top receivers went early, right?
Yeah.
I think we said that receivers were going to go. I'm still kind of surprised of how fast all the top receivers went. And it was like once one went, it's like it was a domino effect. People were trading up trying to get those receivers, and no one was sleeping on receivers. We said, really good pool of receivers this year, and teams obviously noticed that because they were trading up to get them, and they were taking them early. I mean, Green Bay, I just don't know what they're going to do. Like, I don't know when it comes to receivers. I don't know who receiver 1 is. Like, it's going to be very interesting to see, how Rodgers manages the game from now on, because there's going to be guys dropping balls. You know what? It sets up nice for a Cinderella story guy coming out of nowhere, a no-name, prospect or something to have a massive year. But it gives a lot of. I mean, they probably have the worst receiving core in the league right now.
Right.
I think Houston has a better receiving core than them. So, like, even the Patriots, as much as I laugh at the Patriots, and there's another team that didn't draft a receiver in the first round. But
Wait, I don't know.
But like, I honestly think the Patriots receiving core is better than Green Bay. But it was pretty crazy to see with 2 picks, the fact that they didn't trade up or even take a receiver with one of those picks.
Yeah, so many guys like London and Olave and Traylon Burks, and they're all going, and I'm just like, okay, Green Bay, what are you doing? And nothing. They just sat there and took Christian Watson in the second round, but we'll see. It's a lot to ask of a second-year receiver to be your number 1 or number 2 with, like you said, with Lazard, who Aaron Rodgers refused to throw the ball to last year. So that's a lot of confidence that he has in number 13.
Yeah, no, they're it's gonna. I don't know who he's gonna throw the ball to, and like you said, I mean, last year you were seeing Lazard wide open and him trying to feed Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
Like I don't know who that player is gonna be this year for Aaron Rodgers because he's always targeted Devontae Adams. So it's like, is it gonna be Lazard? Is it gonna be the guy that's drafted in the second round? Is it gonna be a trade? Like, do we see a trade this offseason? I don't know. We'll see. I guess on.
Is there
Like,
another trade? Is there another receiver trade? We've seen AJ Brown. We've
yeah.
seen Tyreek Hill get moved, and a bunch of different wide receiver activity. Do you think we'll see another trade this offseason? Potentially, maybe Debo get moved, or a receiver that isn't at the forefront yet?
Well, Debo obviously, by the sounds of it, he wants to be moved.
Mhm.
I do. I think he gets moved? No. I think a team would have to give up a king. Like, they'd have to ask a king's ransom to get him. Like, I don't see the 49ers giving him up for nothing. So, do I see another receiver trade? Nothing big. I mean, you might see
Mhm.
some minor transactions, but I don't see a big name moving now because the draft is over. You've used your pieces on the chessboard for the most part. I don't see a big move happening now. Don't put it past me. It can happen tomorrow, but I don't see a big move happening. No one's really, other than Deebo Samuel, no one's really been talking other big names potentially getting moved.
Mhm.
So I haven't heard of anyone, but maybe you have. But I'm I was surprised AJ Brown moved, but after the draft, and they drafted a younger AJ Brown, so it
Right.
kind of made a little bit more sense that way. The Tyreek Hill, that was an interesting move. I kind of like that move both sides. I thought it was a good football trade, but I
Yeah.
don't see another big receiver being moved. And I mean, what does Green Bay have to offer if they do? Like, what do you have to be first round picks? I don't know if they have enough
Yeah.
depth to move
I
someone.
I wonder if Green Bay will swoop in when he's recovered from his surgery and they'll sign Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing about Odell Beckham Jr. now, he's got his championship, so
Yeah.
I mean he'll be looking for a payday. I mean, and I don't blame him. I would too. He had a great end of the year. I That wouldn't surprise me. Now, I don't know if he's a big fan of Green Bay. Who knows? I
Yeah.
think he loved the LA spotlight. Green Bay isn't
No.
really Caesar's palace of locations if you like the nightlife and entertainment. But for the right price, I'm sure he'd go.
Yeah, he'd suck it up for a couple months and live with Aaron,
Yeah.
I guess, maybe become best friends. Um, is Baker Mayfield going to be a Cleveland Brown week 1?
Oh man, yes, I do. I think he is. I think he's going to be a Cleveland Brown. I think he is. No one wants him right now. It's one of those things where you're walking through the grocery store, you're looking, you see one item sitting there, and it's like, do I really need that? Yeah, nah, I can get away with it. I'll keep going. I just don't see a lot of teams with the need. I mean, I think he could start as a Cleveland Brown. He could get traded after a couple weeks. I mean, he is still a good quarterback, right? Let's not
Yeah.
forget that. So if you're the Cleveland Browns, why trade him right now when his value's so low? Wait for someone to have an injury. Like, the injuries happen. We see it every year. Quarterbacks get off to bad starts. Don't you have an asset there that is still valuable? But if you trade him now, you're not getting the value for him that you could. I think he stays a Cleveland Brown at least for the first couple weeks of the year.
Yeah, and if Deshaun's suspended, he could start as well.
Yeah.
I don't. His ego is so big. I don't think he would start in Cleveland again. I don't know what he'd do. Like, that whole training camp, that'll be a debacle if he shows up, and all that, because I kind of agree with you. I think he'd be cut by now if they're going to cut him, and he'd be traded because, the draft
Well,
is here.
they're not gonna cut him. Like, if you cut him, you're just wasting your first round pick you took a few years ago. You're wasting. Put a lot of valuable time into Baker Mayfield. You cut him, a team's gonna sign him tomorrow if you cut him
Probably the
tonight.
Steelers.
Right? Exactly. Like, someone will sign him, keep him. Yes, you're gonna have to put up with some headaches. You're gonna have to answer a lot of questions. he's probably going to be a big distraction. But I mean, you already got a big distraction coming in Deshaun Watson.
Yes.
So, I mean, maybe having them talk about Baker Mayfield might not be the worst thing in the world than having to talk about Deshaun Watson. So
Right.
you need a whipping boy. You got a whipping boy there. You want to direct all your questions to Baker Mayfield. We'll not talk about the Deshaun Watson shit going on the other side, right? So
his value is so low because I heard an interview yesterday with Pete Carroll, Seattle Seahawks head coach, of course. He was glowing about Geno Smith being the week 1 starter. Like, he was excited about Geno Smith and showing what, Geno's finally going to get the opportunity. Like, when Geno Smith is getting clamored about and Baker Mayfield's available, that's when it's gone bad for your career.
Exactly. So, and that's why there's no point in Cleveland cutting him though right now. Like, hold on to him. If you want to cut him halfway through the season this year. Like, but hold on to him because someone is going to get hurt. Someone's going to get hurt in training camp. Someone's going to get off to an 0-3 start and need a quarterback. Like, it happens. So keep him. If you don't even want him to come to camp, leave him at home. Like,
right.
But keep him around, especially with the uncertainty of Deshaun Watson.
News of the week. I haven't talked about this yet because I wanted to save it because I knew you were coming on. Tuesday, it comes out. Andrew Marchand of the New York Post reports that Tom Edward Patrick Brady Jr. III is going to be the lead football analyst at Fox Sports alongside Kevin Burkhardt whenever he retires. 10 years, $375 million deal. What was your first reaction when you saw this?
Well, first reaction was I did not see it coming. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It was right out of left field. I mean, Fox will never get that money back. I don't think that. Do I think Tom Brady's going to be a good analyst? Yes, I do. Do I think he's worth $37.5 million per year? No, I don't. But I love Tom Brady on the field. People will tune in to hear what he has to say. Now, this just shows that Brady, when he says I'm going to retire to spend more time with the kids, no, that didn't work. That was like,
no.
He's going to be on the road more doing this stuff. But,
right.
I mean, that's as good as I love Tony Romo. I honestly think he's one of the best to do it right now in his role with CBS. This is double Tony Romo money. It's crazy money. Now, I just think it's too much money. At the end of the day, it's just too much money to offer. I don't think he's going to recoup the value of paying him that much money. But, I mean, obviously they have enough money to pay him that, right? So it's like, don't get me wrong, it's great to have Tom Brady around, for sure. He's the GOAT. He's the best player to ever play in the NFL, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion, right? Now, are people going to tune in week after week after week to listen to Tom Brady?
No.
I don't think so. Maybe the first year, but after that,
because do you care? Like, you're gonna watch Monday Night Football whether it's Steve Levy or Joe Buck, because you're a football fan.
Exactly. I don't see enough, and that's why I'm saying I think it's just too much money. I don't see enough of your casual viewer tuning in to watch Tom Brady cover games. And he's going to be covering the bigger games, which those are the games people are already tuning into. So I just seen so much money, man. It's crazy.
It's so much money, and I'm not as bullish as you. I don't know if he's going to be any good at it, because Tom is he's going to be either really gregarious, really funny, kind of Tampa Brady, if you will. Yeah. But if he resorts back into New England Brady, he's going to be Drew Brees level of boring and just like, I'm putting this game on mute because I don't want to hear him talk. Like,
well, that's why they put Drew Brees on all the Saints games, because at least he can talk about the Saints. Like, you notice he did about every second week he was doing a Saints game, because at least he can talk about the Saints. Like, Drew Brees isn't very good at that job.
No.
The reason I think Tony Romo is very good job is you can tell he loves to do it. Like, he is fired up to call games. Like, he loves being in that booth and calling the games. I don't know if Tom Brady is going to have that same love for being up there and calling a football game.
I guess the best thing you could hope for is that he's so competitive that he wants to be better than Romo and he wants to be better than Aikman.
I mean, that's, I think, what Fox is hoping for, right? I mean, with paying him that much money, you hope he's going to be the best analyst on TV. If you didn't think that, you shouldn't have paid that money, right? And it's up to Fox to train him too. Like, you can't just, you can't just pay this and say, okay, jump in the booth. Like, you're going to have to
Mhm.
put time and effort, and he's going to have to put time and effort into becoming a good analyst. Like, you with this show, you're a lot better at it now than you were when you started, right? And
Right.
it takes time, and it takes practice. It takes, I'm a better coach now than I was 4 years ago. Now, is
Right.
Tom Brady going to be a better analyst 4 years down the road than he is when he first starts? That's their goal, is that he gets better every year, right? But maybe he does it for a year, and then he just, I'm just going to show up when I can, and make all this money. And Fox needs him to be the best analyst on TV.
Yeah, for sure. How do you think Greg Olson feels? Because he was the main man for 5 minutes. And I think he's pretty good writer. I enjoyed him last
He's
year.
great.
I think he's really good. Yeah.
I think it was a blessing in disguise finding Greg Olson. I think he did an awesome job. He's personable. He knows the game. He has really good takes. He's good insight. He doesn't mind calling out a player, which some don't. I don't know if Tom Brady will.
Because you need to do that. Romo doesn't do that enough.
No, yeah, you have to be able to say, listen, this guy was terrible tonight. Like, yeah, and do that. It takes balls, because those are your coworkers, those are people you played against, those are friends sometimes.
Yes. Yep.
Where it's tough, like, even coming on here, I don't like to, bash players that often, and that's why I don't talk a lot of NHL hockey, because I don't want to be, 5 years down the road potentially, in that landscape, and have a player be like, what the hell, man? To the point 5 years ago, you told me I sucked, right? Like, it's hard to do those things, right? So then hopefully your podcast, your show gets big enough that that's happening.
Let's hope.
Right?
Yeah, let's hope.
But to that point, it's tough for an analyst to, stand there and say someone that they played with for 10 years and maybe sat beside in the locker room that, hey, he was awful tonight. Like, he needs to be better. Like, that's tough. And I think Greg Olson has done an awesome job last year. I think he's still going to get paid. They better pay him, because if they don't pay him, someone else will.
Yeah, because Collingsworth, I don't know how much longer he's going to do it. Now that Al's gone, maybe he could move to NBC, because he's great to be a number 2. I mean, that's a great luxury at Fox, but I'm sure another network would love to have him as well, because I think he's really good at what he does. What's coming up for you with champions, and with you with work right now? How are things?
Things are busy, man. It's a busy time of year. It's good. I'm away this weekend, coach. I'm away the next 4 weekends. Moncton this weekend, Moncton next weekend, Halifax the weekend after, and then Quebec City the weekend after that. So it's a busy time of the year coaching spring hockey. I love doing it. This time of year, it's great to see all the kids, playing. A lot of our teams are kind of starting to wind down, but it's been busy. Actually, I've kind of going back to school, not like in a hockey sense. I got accepted to do my HP1 High Performance 1 coaching clinic. So that's kind of the big one you need through Hockey Canada to be able to coach, BAM AAA, Midget AAA, U15 Elite, like U18. It's your big Hockey Canada certification. So I got accepted to take part in that program. So I begin that the end of May and goes right till June, and then that will keep me busy. But other than that, a lot of time at the rink, and just kind of going through the spring hockey grind, as you call it.
Well, no, I congratulations on that. I mean, that's awesome. Be nice to see you behind the bench of the Fredericton. I don't even know the midget AAA team's name anymore. It used to be the Canadians. Is it still the Canadians?
It's actually the Caps now, and I'll give you a little inside information. I'm actually going to be jumping on the bench with the U16 prep school team for Fredericton CHA Eagles next year with John Hardy. So I'm going to be assistant coach of the U16 AAA team, which I'm really excited about. And breaking news on To The Point. So I'm excited for that opportunity to coach some of the top U16 players in the area.
Well, I got to go full McAfee here and go, congratulations, man.
Thank you. I'm very excited about it.
That's awesome. No, I know you're such a hard worker, and you deserve that man, because you're always working, you're always grinding. So good things are going to happen to you, because you never stop grinding, you never stop working. So congratulations on that front. Thanks for making the time for us small people here, because you just keep moving up the ranks, and I always appreciate the time. I know you're busy, and we'll do this again soon, but thanks for the time tonight, Ryder. Pleasure as always.
Absolutely, buddy. I appreciate you having me on, and definitely will love to catch up with you here soon, and hopefully see you at some point here over the next couple months in person.
Absolutely. Take care, buddy.
See you, bud.
There's Matt Wright. Congratulations to Ryder. Ryder's been coaching for a while, been a good buddy of mine since university, and he's always working. He's always was a hard worker in school, always was trying to do more to get ahead. And he he's helped me kind of do that with the podcast, working and then doing the podcast and trying to reach my goals. So he's definitely a role model of mine, and what he's done, what he's accomplished. So congratulations to Ryder on the new coaching gig. And, we wish him all the best here to the point, because he's a great guest. He's a great friend, and, a person that I think we could all look up to. So congratulations to Matt. Tonight, feast or famine gambling pick. It's tough, because I wanted to pick the Oilers, but then I saw that they were the favorite tonight. I don't love that. I don't like betting favorites. But I took all the home favorites last night. We got 4 elimination games in the NHL tonight. What I'm going to do instead is pick of the day. I'm going to go NBA. I got the Miami Heat in Philadelphia tonight, +2, getting plus money with the Heat. I'm taking the Heat to finish out that series tonight. And I'm taking the Maple Leafs +1.5 tonight. Underdog on the road at Tampa Bay. I got the Leafs winning tonight. So Heat +2, Toronto +1.5. Those are the picks of the day. Feast or famine here on To The Point. Apologize for the network error earlier, but we got that figured out. We got the show back on the ropes today. Be back tomorrow, Friday show, potentially a big show with the Leafs, potentially moving on. Are the Oilers eliminated? Preview some Game 7s hopefully as well. So great show today. Appreciate the support. We'll see you tomorrow. To The Point.